Are you still with Fearless?
I'm always fearless. Downtown. It sounds like some Christmas music.
Yeah, I was supposed to work that day, but I got a text saying not to come in because there was a bombing that happened.
It was parked right here. Was you working down here when that bomb? Keep working. Don't let me.
Well, it was 5 in the morning. I work at 5 in the morning.
On Christmas morning, early morning, there were sirens that went off to notify people that the bomb was going to go off to get people to evacuate.
The bomber sitting in his truck. The siren was going off for hours and hours and hours. No one did anything about it.
He blew himself and the van up.
It had something to do with 5G. The guy didn't like 5G, and the AT&T building is right there.
So the idea is that it was an attack on the government and the establishment, not the people.
That blew up, and all the votes went away.
You do know that that's the building where they said that those audit recount machines were, right?
Yeah, that I know nothing about at all.
That's above my pay grade.
Sounds like there was a little more at play.
We were closed down. I mean, this whole place closed down for months.
It ain't making no sense. I know the difference between chicken salad and chicken shit, even though they both come from a chicken.
Got something to say, you wanted to play, then come running my way and ruin G status is dead. No, ready to go, about to go in, you already know. Got my instructions, now give me your audience, hand me your mic and I'm ready to blow. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 for everybody who encouraged me to go, get it. We finally did it, I ain't never turning back, shawty. I'm fully committed to my beliefs, I'm committed to the city. I'm about to give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for.
And now, from a cave behind a waterfall in the heart of the Ozarks, it's the cipher of the classified, the Riddler of the ridiculous, the speaker of the surreptitious, and the host of Jimspiracy, Jimmy Dodds.
Welcome to Jimspiracy. I'm your host, Jimmy Dodds. Tell you guys a little story. Okay. It was early Christmas morning in Nashville, Tennessee. This was the year of our Lord, 2020. The music was playing the 1964 smash hit single, Downtown. Everybody wants to go downtown. And at some point or another, and we still haven't been able to get this cleared, but at some point or another, the music changed to what appears to be a woman's voice giving a warning from the RV. We might be able to play it for you. Check it out.
This area must be evacuated now. If you can hear this message, evacuate now. If you can hear this message, evacuate now.
Okay, now, we all know what happened next, right? We do know what happened next, right? Or do we? I mean, really, how many of us really remember this? Tell the truth. Because, hey, man, we got a phrase in my family that says, tell the truth, shame the devil. Hey, America, let's be honest, man. We really don't care where the bombs is falling, as long as they ain't falling in our backyard. Okay? And see, this right here, this is a homegrown trait that we've developed as Americans. And thus, that could explain how I ended up going all the way down this here wabbit hole. Okay. But listen, I'm gonna get more about that later on tonight. After I talk with our guest later on in the show. Our guest tonight on the show is going to be a Nashville musical legend. His name is Buck McCoy. Buck is someone who felt the blast. He will be on with us in a minute. He not only felt the blast, he was right there on the same street where the bomb happened. He lost everything he owns, okay? You see Buck jumping in the air? Let me ask y'all a question real quick. Let me show y'all a picture of Uncle Jimmy jumping in the air. Y'all tell me who y'all think has the best hang time there between me and Big Buck McCoy. Take a look. Ha! Y'all didn't think Uncle Jimmy could do that. All right. But listen, before I go and before we get into this, I want to draw a couple of lines real quick, okay? Tell you some things that I've seen. I told y'all before when I started this thing with Jim Spiracy, I was going to connect some dots for you. I was going to tell you about some things that I've seen in my 60 years of this earth. And for some reason, this bombing, this explosion that happened in Nashville really bothered me. It bothered me because it didn't bother nobody else. You know, it just didn't bother anybody else, man. If you go back and look on YouTube and you look this up, look at how many views it doesn't have. You know, I guarantee you the fact that that Kardashian girl is having a surrogate baby by that colored boy, I guarantee you that video has more views than this. And I guess it shows where our priorities lie as a country. But let me just tell you a couple things real quick that I've seen, man, and if I can. Back in 1988, in Kansas City, there was an explosion. Okay, and the explosion just simply said that I believe we had 6 firemen killed in an explosion that actually destroyed the firemen, the fire trucks, and everything else. Well, it just so happened that within I guess a year ago, February 1st, 2022, now they're coming out with a report that said 2 of the guards that was on site at that day, that were on the site that day, they may have been involved in that explosion in 1988. I think it's pretty interesting. 1995, we had that Oklahoma bombing. Remember that? One thing about that bombing is Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols, they built that bomb in Kansas, okay? Right there, somewhere right there between Kansas and Oklahoma, okay? Now, right before that, do we remember what it was that set Timothy McVeigh off? It was the 1993 Waco siege, okay? Remember? Remember that story with Timothy McVeigh, with David Koresh and the Branch Davidians? And do we remember who was running our country at that time? By the way, if you're doing your homework, man, they was blowing up stuff when Clinton was in office, okay? Because all of this happened under Clinton's watch. Clinton and do y'all remember Janet Reno, the first Democratical transgender? Remember? Yeah, y'all remember her. See, this is why y'all need Uncle Jimmy. Y'all need Uncle Jimmy to bring you back, to remind you of things. Now, y'all remember Janet Reno. Remember this other world famous picture of Bill Clinton. And do y'all remember what he was saying? What he said, the quote said, he was like, "Easy, big fella. Easy there. I don't get down that way. The only person that plays on this saxophone is Monica." Oh yeah, I got one more for you. That was 1993. Here's one that you all forgot about. 1985, the MOVE organization, Philly. The day that Philadelphia bombed its own people. Okay? Y'all forgot that, didn't you? They had a simple request to the government. They said, let our kids get out. Let our kids get out and then, we'll surrender. Nah. They dropped a bomb on that house and burned up that entire block. So I'm kind of trying to tell y'all that we as a country have a nice history of blowing up stuff. Okay. And by the way, hold it. Let's not forget our best piece of work. Let's not forget the best one. Let's not forget the one that made us famous. Let's not forget that one in Nagasaki. Okay. Let's not forget that Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Now remember, this was the one. This was the one where we outdid ourselves. This was the firecracker that went off that got the aliens' attention. Okay? Now, so I'm just telling y'all, this Nashville bombing, it's really not nothing new, man. And see, I have something that bothers me because I'm in Nashville, I'm down here. It's been 2 years since this has happened. 2 years. And it's still not cleaned up. right? 2 years. But tell me this, America. How in the hell is that not cleaned up in 2 years? But in less than 24 hours, they sure as hell managed to clean up them Georgia Guidestones, didn't they? Cleaned them up and took everything away. That rascal was cleaned out. Okay? So, you know, they have a little phrase, man. It's called make it make sense. You know, just make it make sense. Somebody tell me how that happens, you know? I thought it was, you know, kind of strange that you cleaned up the Guidestones in 2 days. I kind of find it even kind of more strange that you still haven't cleaned this up in 2 years. Anyway, hey, man, we're going to talk about this more. Do me a favor. Run over and check out our poll here, our Twitter poll. That doesn't sound right. Run and check out our Twitter poll. We're talking about this Nashville bombing. Tell me what you think. You think it was a case of a lone wolf? Bottom line, case closed, done. You think that maybe there's more to this story? Or how many of y'all would really just be honest and say, that one completely got past me. Never heard of it. That's the one that bothers me. Check it out. We're going to be right back with an actual witness from the Nashville bombing. Our guest, Buck McCoy.
The Nashville bombing. Most Americans have forgotten it, even though it was only 18 months ago. It happened on Christmas morning 2020, only 9 months into the COVID pandemic. It was unique in the history of American terrorism because there were no casualties except for the alleged bomber himself. But it destroyed millions of dollars worth of property in the heart of Nashville's entertainment district. The official story is that Anthony Quinn Warner was a lone wolf. He built the bomb in his RV, drove it down to 2nd Avenue, and blared music and warning messages over a PA system for hours before the detonation at 6:30 a.m. on Christmas Day. Because of the warnings, police were able to evacuate most of the residents, and there were no other casualties. But why did a bomb crew never arrive despite so much lead time? Why was the RV parked right in front of an AT&T communication center, a hub for internet and telephone service for a vast swath of the American Southeast? And perhaps most disturbingly, why did it happen during the height of the election fraud dispute and just 12 days before the January 6th protests at the Capitol? Is it true that AT&T had been hired to audit the Dominion voting machines? Is it true that Warner was a self-professed alien and UFO hunter? Why did he leave his belongings to a woman half his age who lived 2,000 miles away? Why has she been ordered to keep her mouth shut by the Federal Bureau of Investigation? We may never know the answers to the mystery that rocked Music City on Christmas Day 2020, but here at Jimspiracy, we are sure as hell going to ask the questions.
Welcome back to Jimspiracy. You know who I am. I'm that guy, Uncle Jimmy. I told you, I'm very happy to have my guest today. Our featured guest today is Buck McCoy. You can Google him at buckmccoy.com. Now, some people call him a staple of the little Nashville scene. I like to call him the big dog of the little Broadway musical scene. Y'all call it the Broadway here in Nashville. And this is where the tourists go. And you are the guy that puts in the work that makes this money for Nashville. He's supposed to be here in person today, but he kind of big dogged me, kind of big wigged me. He had another gig. Let's just go ahead and just get this over with. Tell the people what gig you had, Buck, that was so big that you had to big time me. Where you at, Buck?
I'm going to be at Opryland Hotel, and I am doing a little thing I got to do today, and I got to do Wednesday. I do a Tim McGraw impersonation of the artist Tim McGraw. And we also have a Dolly Parton lookalike, and we have a Willie Nelson lookalike. And basically, it's for the conventions. Everybody comes out at coffee time, and we go out and greet them and welcome them to Nashville. And sometimes we'll sing a song or two, but there's a whole network of lookalikes. And I've been doing Tim McGraw impersonations for going on 15 years now. So he's a great artist. I love his music, and I just had to go make some money. I didn't do that. So either that or I'd come down and see you. I'm going to come to the next show for sure. So.
Well, I'll take that. Tell me this: you have a Dolly Parton impersonator. I'm sure everybody wants to know how well of a job did they do on the I don't mean prosthetics. So how well did they do on the body double?
You're right. There are some probably exaggerated features that were purchased, so these are not authentic.
Yeah, I mean, really, because some people they really exaggerate the wigs. They exaggerate the wigs, and it's more to Dolly than the wigs. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and she's the girl who's I'm working with today, Natasha Neely, is a younger Dolly Parton, a Dolly like maybe in her late 20s. And then we have another Dolly Parton that's in her 60s. So it's the older Dolly. And it's kind of like with Elvis Presley, there's so many different genres. You could do GI Elvis, or you're doing the older Elvis. I love a good Elvis impersonator. And I like to go every time I get a chance to evaluate an Elvis impersonator, and they can be a lot of fun. Since the King's not with us anymore, we have to just live vicariously through his memory.
Hold on one second, Buck. Just hold on. 1 minute, please, everybody. Why don't you check this out here for me? I got a rock in my balls, that's what's wrong with me. My knees are shaking and my legs are weak. Come on, baby, be my buttercup. I'm in love. I'm all shook up. What do you think about that one right there?
I like it. I like what you're doing. I have to say, I went to see the Elvis Presley movie. Have you caught that yet?
No, I haven't. Not even gonna lie to you and say I have.
It's it's got such a great soundtrack to it, and brings back all those old songs, just like the one you were singing. And I think they did a really good job on it. So I would suggest people go see that movie. It's a good one, worth the money.
One of the things as I said, I'm new here to Nashville. I'm from Kansas City, and this is the 5th show here at Jimspiracy. And let me thank you in front of everybody for coming out and talking to me. Of me being here in Nashville, and we started shooting the segments of the show. We call them the Man on the Street. And I started noticing the downtown area. And with all of we're shooting, and there's fences, fenced in areas. And then there's boarded up buildings. And then there's one building that's like completely blown away. And I asked my producer, I said, what the hell? What are they building here? What happened? And then he explains to me about the whole story, about the whole Nashville story, about the camper and the bombing and everything. Okay. And I go, whoa, I remember that. Okay. And then I kind of, it was one of those stories that made me go, whatever happened to that? Whatever became of that? And thus is how I came across you, because I wanted to talk to somebody that had been there. So that's why you're actually on the show. We were just having a good time. And the fact of the matter is, and as I went down this rabbit hole, I realized that for those people that don't know, tell people what happened. You can definitely tell it far better than I can. As a matter of fact, if I may, what were you doing December 24th of, 2020?
Well, I had worked the previous day, the 24th, Christmas Eve, at the Redneck Riviera, and I had gone home to get some rest because I was going to be working Christmas Day all day at the club, which is about 2 blocks from where my apartment was on 2nd Avenue where the bomb went off. I got some rest, got into bed, and then real early in the morning, I could hear something off on the street, like somebody was talking in a CB or something like that. So I got up, I walked over to the window, and I looked out, and I couldn't see anything. I saw a little snow on the ground. I said, "Oh, isn't that beautiful? It's gonna be a little snow on Christmas morning." And I said, well, I'm just going to go back into bed. So I went over into my other area of the apartment, laid down, went to bed. And within 20 minutes, the biggest explosion I've ever heard just blew all of my windows all the way into the apartment. All the fire alarms went off. The water was coming down. I was lying in bed and I got up and I started walking around trying to figure out wow, this is crazy. And I stepped on some glass because the windows had blown out. I didn't realize it. So then I looked down and I noticed there's blood on the floor. So I'm thinking, wow, I'm injured. I'm kind of like in shock. My ears were, numbing, and I'll send you a video that you can show the folks about what I was visualizing, because I grabbed my camera and I just started shooting because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Took a shot of my whole apartment, all the windows gone down. I tried to rumble
Is
around.
this the video right here?
Yeah, that's some of it there. And I was looking for the cat, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to leave the apartment, but get my shoes on, get all this stuff. And I get out and I realize, oh God, I've got to get the cat. So I go back in and I can't find the cat. She's hiding somewhere because, she's freaked out. And the firemen start coming up the stairwell and they're like, get out of here. This place is not safe. You got to leave right now. I said, what about the cat? And he said, no, you got to leave. So I just left everything. I grabbed my wallet and that was all I had. And I stumbled out of there onto the street and just looked out at what I could not believe what I was seeing. It looked like a war zone in something you'd see in a newsreel. And I stumbled over to my friend's house. They live at the 505 where I'm living now. And I just went over to their place and they took me in. And next thing you know, the news was going crazy and a lot of people were calling me to get eyewitness accounts and stuff. And my video that I shot ended up, I guess it got like over 1 million views and just went viral all over. So I was getting calls from Germany and, other places. That day changed my life. I was so close to, because if I was standing at that window when that bomb went off, I would just have had just massive cuts all over me. And so I was blessed to get through that. I felt like, I had an angel with me that day, and I was unable to get really anything out. I lost all my guitars. I lost all my equipment. I had my little home studio, and eventually after 6 days, they find my cat, Molly. And she, they were very, very secretive about this. I mean, they wouldn't give me any information. I'm like, my whole life is in that apartment.
What do you mean secretive? What do you mean?
The FBI was there right off the bat, and there was just an aura, a feeling. It was just, I don't even know. It was a vibration that I just felt, this is weird. Like, what is this a distraction for? Why would this guy do this? What's going on?
When you say this guy, what do you mean this guy? See, people don't even know when you say this guy. Before we go into that, I want to ask one thing, because you said that the explosion went off. You're looking for your cat. You grabbed your wallet. You had enough instinct to grab your phone. You see glass, but you say that firemen are there shortly. I mean, in other words, before you had an opportunity to call 911, you're basically saying that 911 was there. Is that right?
Well, there was a lapse of a few minutes before the explosion, and then I was, trying to gather myself, and then I could hear some sirens in the distance. So I got all my wits about me enough to just say, I'm going to leave. But then when I walked out, they were kind of staying away. It's like I was walking out and they're not rushing into the building. And so that's when I went back upstairs to go get my cat.
Wait a
And
minute, wait a
then
minute.
they
Hold on,
came
excuse
in.
me. Wait a minute. There was an emergency. There were lives to be saved, and no one rushed into the building.
It didn't seem like they
Okay.
were waiting for a second to see like they were establishing or something, you know.
And I
And
could
a lot of
understand
people
that.
were coming out. Yeah, I guess, you know, they think maybe there's another bomb that's going to go off. But eventually the firemen did come in, and they cleared out the place. Absolutely no one died, which was unbelievable because where
Amazing.
I lived at, there was damage and there was a lot of people home. Luckily, the person in the place next to me was at their family's house for Christmas. She decided she was going to go to her mom's house. So thank goodness she wasn't in there because she was even a little bit closer to the explosion than I was. I don't know why he picked that spot. And I really didn't know because like in my mind, you're thinking, okay, somebody did this. Is this a terrorist attack? Is it a something attack? You know, in your mind, you're going a million miles an hour, but somebody put a bomb in there,
Well,
you
bottom
know.
line, who the hell did it? It's just who did it? What happened here? I
Well,
mean, it could have just, I mean,
I got the information later on. It took quite a while to figure out that this guy had put the bomb inside of his camper and decided that he was going to get back at the tower that is located in there. That I guess he used to work for this company, and
what's the company?
I think it's AT&T. And
Well, you
you
know,
know,
if you
I
if you
didn't do
go
a
and try to
lot of.
Google, you know, if you try to
Mhm.
Google that address of the alleged AT&T building, that you'll get the front of the address, but AT&T is blurred out of it. I think it's just real interesting that, you know,
Yeah,
that particular. But
there
go ahead.
were.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, Buck. Go
No,
ahead.
no, because I think you're right, and that there were stories about the election and the filtering of votes through a AT&T network. And this is what was all kind of going on because nobody really knew anything. And it took a little while to track this stuff down. But I felt like they might have not. Like I was thinking to myself, is this a distraction? Do they need a distraction this morning on Christmas so that you like who knows what else was going on that day in the world? Because my whole world changed forever. I mean, I had to start basically all over again, but I did have a lot of help of friends and musicians, and Brad Paisley gave me a call and sent me one of his guitars to play. So this city showed me why I moved here. They were but the other part of it was still a mystery to me. Is like, why don't we find out what really happened? And if it was just one crazy person, then you know that's okay too, you know. But there just seemed to be a little bit of mystery, and they wouldn't let me go back in there for 6 days. So all my stuff got wet and it got, you know, damaged, and all my guitars were soaking wet, and you know, just basically everything smelled like mold after that point. But I
Well,
guess
of
they
course.
wanted to thoroughly go through the site and find every little thing. There were pieces of the bomb inside my bedroom. When I did go back, I was able to get some things, some clothes. I got my jeans and stuff that was washable and stuff like that. But
Okay, Buck, listen, because there's a lot to this story, and I'm gonna try to run through some things, and I want you to just kind of help me out because I know your time is valuable, but I'm gonna try to hurry up and go through some things that I don't think people know. And you just tell, first of all, I don't think people know about the fact of the RV, the guy, his name was I can't remember what exactly this clown's name was. I don't even want to.
yeah,
The guy's name was Tony Warner, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's what they
right.
say this guy's name was. Okay, he had a camper, a RV. Now, what I thought was interesting about it was they said that it was playing a warning that warned people to step away from the vehicle to get away. But prior to that, it wasn't playing a warning, it was playing the song Downtown. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Meet me
Petula Clark.
downtown. Oh
Yeah,
man.
downtown. Everybody wants to go downtown. Okay,
Downtown.
so you said you just described and said that it was snow. Christmas Eve, snow, downtown, and then suddenly playing downtown turned into step away from the vehicle. One question, real quick: how did you hear this story? First of all, about the
I did.
downtown and the recording.
I heard something going on out there, but it was a little bit farther down the street, and I've lived on Second Avenue for 5 years, so there's always some kind of loud noises
How
going on.
far away from the bomb from the camper were you? How far away
God, it
were
was
you in
about
proximity?
four businesses over. I was on
Okay.
top of the old spaghetti factory. There's about four
Okay.
businesses, and the rest of that stuff down the street was just completely, almost wiped off the map. They're going to have to tear those buildings down and start over. But I think that
But let me keep
some
moving.
kind
Let me
of
keep moving
weird.
really quick.
Hmm.
Hold on for a second. Hold on a second, because I want to tell people the interesting things that happened with this story. That because we all heard about this, but did you hear talk about there were reports of gunshots prior to this
Yes.
that actually had police on the scene?
I heard gunshots. I woke up, heard gunshots. As you say that now, because people were talking about that, and I said, well, either it was a gunshot or it was a automated sound that he was pumping out of gunshots. I think he was
So
trying to
you heard the
cause attention
gunshots.
to himself. I did, but I've heard gunshots on Second Avenue before.
Hold on.
There's
This
been
is my
some.
question. You heard
Mhm.
gunshots and you went back to sleep, right?
Yes.
Where are you from, man? Where are you from, man?
Well, listen, like I said, I've
Where
lived
you
on
from? Did
Second
you hear
Avenue.
gunshots and you go,
I
I'm
because
going
I've
back to
lived
sleep?
on Second Avenue, and just about a month before that, there was a shooting down there, and 8 people got shot. Now you can look that one up too. That was just a few weeks before, but there were just people partying there, and somebody pulled out. So it was really nothing different. The music is always loud on Second Avenue. It goes all night long. Sometimes you hear gunshots, and I get up. Sometimes. So at that point, I was just like, look, I got to work in the morning, so there's nothing really I can do about it. So I'm going back to bed, and that's why um, uh, activities down there on Second Avenue have always been loud the whole time I was there. So uh, that wasn't anything that startled me like the gunshots things. But I did remember, hearing some gunshots, and then I heard that other thing, and then wow, all hell broke loose. He really let it go, and that's just mental. Why he would play that song, why he would do it to synchronize it to a countdown, and then 3, 2, 1.
I don't
It's
think a
just
lot of people know this location of this explosion. They don't know the proximity of this location from what's the stadium? This is the Nissan Stadium.
yeah,
How
it's
far
just
away?
Second
How
Avenue.
far away?
Well, it's
A
about
block? 2 blocks
it's
away?
like 1, 2 blocks away from the building, from the nice, the Nashville building there that everybody's
Why
familiar
not go to
with.
that building? Why not go to that building if you want to get some attention?
And you know what? They did see him parked in front of the that Roosevelt, Tennessee hotel, which is on, I think it's on 7th Avenue. So he went there first, parked it for a minute, and then eventually made his way down to Second Avenue. So I don't know if he had a couple different places he was thinking of letting this bomb go off at, but you're right. You would think for major damage he would want to go into a public area, but for some reason he did not want to have people hurt. He was
Allegedly.
just going after
Allegedly. These are the
allegedly.
stories
I
we
mean,
heard.
he
Okay, now real quick, Buck, real quick, because I'm going to throw the name of this show is called Jimspiracy. And now I'm getting ready to throw a little loop into this story because we kind of remember, but let me ask you something. During 2020, what impact did COVID have on Broadway in 2020?
Yeah, man, what a difficult time. We had got the tornado, we had the
Hmm.
bombing, we had the COVID. I mean, it was just one thing after another that was playing with my mind. And I went down on Broadway after everything was shut down on a Saturday, and it was a ghost town. And it was creepy. It was like a movie, seeing that, wow, we've really shut down the entire country. Every musician, every bartender, everybody were not essential, and there was no, and it was just a terrible feeling. It was just an awful way of thinking about how am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to are we ever going to get back to normal again? So that was pretty tough to take, to feel like you weren't
Well,
essential, you know?
well, and this is why I'm talking about this, because originally America locked down because we were doing what we were told to do. And then there came a time that people, and I mean states, started going, no, we can't. And I believe that Tennessee, especially Nashville, was one of those states. I believe Texas was one of those states. You had states that started saying, no, we have to open up. We need to open up. You know, in California, they were shutting down businesses, shutting down churches, but opening up liquor stores and cannabis stores. So, I mean, this was downtown. Broadway is where you made your living. Okay, so this thing happens, you know, as far as COVID goes, and you guys, you just said you had a performance on the 24th. So at some point or another, Broadway decided to fight against the establishment and fought against, you know, because they're like, everybody got locked down, and you guys were like, no, you don't, because you had to survive, and you guys were back thriving. Am I wrong about that? I mean,
I think,
what am I missing about that?
Well, you know, I wasn't taking it very seriously at the beginning. You know, I was kind of jovial about it. We had some friends of ours who lost somebody to COVID, and then it started to really hit home. But then after a longer while, we're like, well, you know, what's the end game? You know, how are we going to get back, and who's going to lead us to this place? So we started getting into this argument with the mayor because he wanted to keep us shut down, and then you had the regular workers who were saying, well, we're willing to take the chance. You know, we want to work again, and you know, you have to eventually take your own life into your own hands and say, either that or we're just going to be getting government checks for the rest of our lives or something. I guess that would be plan B. So eventually, you know, it took a while, but little by little, we'd start to play a little bit. And then they'd open, there'd be all these rules where you couldn't stand, and you couldn't dance with somebody, and you couldn't, you know, you could wear your mask in, but then you could take it off when you sat down, and you had to order a drink. I mean, it was nonsense, kind of making it up as they went along. And I know that, you know, now we know way more than we did 2 years ago, so we wouldn't do that again. And we know how it's spread. We know who's vulnerable. We know what we can do to stay healthy. But like you said, why would they close down the church when that's when you need the Lord most in these times? Or why would you shut down the gyms where you need to get healthy and you need to maybe change your diet and start something different? There was something very suspicious about
Let's
why.
look at what else went on there, Buck. You're absolutely right, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I want to hurry up and go through this because people forget about this. Remember, Kid Rock, he has a bar here. Kid Rock refused to close his bar. Am I right?
That's right. He said, I will not close. And he was one of the last ones before they basically, they went in there with the armed, with the police officers to shut him down. That's when you knew
Not in America. No, not in America. Would you walk in someone's business trying to make a life? No, get out of here, Buck.
Well, it happened. It happened. And we're, you know, we're starting to look back at everything, and maybe we can kind of look back at the bigger picture of now what happened and who was really making money, because the people that made money through COVID, there were a lot of people that did. There were some people that made zero money. So we have to be suspicious of all these things like Amazon, which increased amazingly, and other types of businesses that didn't want to see COVID go away.
Well, they not only did they not want to see COVID go away, to me, COVID was about destroying the American way of life. Me being back in Nashville, one of the things that I say, and I say to not everyone, but I say every time I'm down, I'm like, man, this is America. This is what we do in America. We can just walk and we can just be free we can walk in this establishment and listen to this music, and we can walk in this building. But all of that goes against everything that they're trying to set up and tell us to do here in America. But really quick, if I may, because we're talking about this guy that took the rap for this bombing. Here's the thing that bothers me about this bombing, and I'm glad to hear that you are. First of all, I need to know why. Listen, man, you can't do anything in this country without the government knowing what you're doing. Okay, you don't do anything in this country, and the government doesn't know what you're doing. As I went down this rabbit hole and I look up this clown, whatever his name is, I don't even want to keep calling his name, Tony Warner. I find out that this guy was not completely just some guy that just popped up on the radar. Police had reports of this guy before. Police had been called to this guy's house 16 months prior to the bombing. People showed up. It was a report filed. I don't know if the report was filed by the neighbor or if the report was filed by the girlfriend,
I think the
lady
girlfriend
that he left the house to.
The
Now,
girlfriend reported that. Yeah, it's so
stay
weird.
right
that
there
they
for a minute. Hold on, because let's
Mhm.
clear this up. Stay right here, because they said it was the girlfriend, right? That it was the girlfriend that reported, and the police showed up to the property, and they saw the camper, and the girlfriend showed up and told them that he was making bombs and explosives in his camper. And this guy is documented. He has a license to work with explosives. He was issued a license in 2013 to work with explosives. And you show up in today's time, you have a report of bombs, and you show up and you can see it. I used to work in law enforcement. It's called extended circumstances. And if you don't have a warrant, you can't go, but you didn't investigate that, man. And there's reports that said that the bomb squad went, and now there's reports that said that they didn't go. There's reports that he left his house to the woman in question, that there's reports. But then there's reports that he left 2 houses. There's reports that he left a car. We said that this is his girlfriend, but have you heard reports that this is his girlfriend's daughter? I mean, this person now, at one point she was answering questions, and I'll get her name, but she now, if you ask her about her knowledge, she claims to have no knowledge. And if you have any questions about this whole thing, she refers you to the FBI. Now, I hope I tried to throw all of that in there. Is that the story that's going on in Little Broadway about this deal, or what am I off about there? I'm sorry if I went too long.
Yeah, it's interesting how they could have come clean at the beginning, and then little pieces of this puzzle started coming out little by little, and it makes no wonder why we're all thinking they knew more than they are telling us. They probably were monitoring him. It was a failure not to go in there and do a full search on there. But even to this day, as you went down there, there's still no construction going on down there. I mean, this was 2 years ago, and they just still have it looking like Beirut. And you would think in a prime real estate area down there, they would start rebuilding and putting that back together. But it just sits there looking the way it did a few days after the bombing. They've cleaned up around the edges, but you've seen what it looks like down there. I mean, why the neglect? Why no more research into this? Why no more accountability? Like nobody ever is accountable. Just
A couple of
mystery.
things
It's a mystery.
a couple of things that stick in my mind about it, and this is why and it's exactly what you said. It's amazing to me the amount of Americans that really haven't heard about this. You know, if they go, what about, or they go, oh yeah, I vaguely remember hearing something about that. But the one thing that I also find interesting about it, and I didn't know what you were going to say, was the whole voting. This AT&T building that they don't want to tell you about. Help me out, man. I don't want to act like this is where they said they were keeping those voting machines at. Am I right or am I wrong? This is where they said that was going on at.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of the during that time, people were trying to figure out the election itself. And then when this bomb went off, it was like, okay, now you can't go in that building, you can't do anything in that building. That building is a FBI bomb, which led to many, many weeks and weeks and weeks of whatever could happen in there. Once they take over an area, you can't go in there. No matter. If there was no bomb there, maybe they would go down there and check and see, like, retabulate or whatever they were thinking. But once that bomb went off, that was it. The evidence was off bounds to even look
Let
at.
me ask you a
So
question, Buck.
that made it creepy. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Buck. Have you heard any reports that the alleged bomber's father worked at that building, or also that maybe the bomber himself did IT work as a subcontractor for the building, meaning that he did have some knowledge of what was going on in that building? Is there any truth to that, or have you heard anything to that?
Yeah, I definitely believe that he was either employed by them at some point and knew a lot about what was going on in that building. And in his mind, he was convinced that what he was doing was, I guess, right. But I know that he had a lot of knowledge about that building, about what was inside there, why he parked it at that particular angle, and we've never heard anything else. They've kept a lid on it, and they don't. And we just have to guess.
Well, I agree with that completely, but I think that the thing that goes with that, and so in other words, here's what we're dealing with. Let's just look at what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an election. We're dealing with an election count fraud. And you know what's really sad, man? If you talk to as crazy as the talk that people said that Donald Trump was crazy talking about a recount, and do you know that you talk to a lot of people and they go, yeah, there was a lot of BS going on in the game. And this is one of those pieces of the game that, wow. And what I was getting ready to say was also, it's just amazing to me how many on YouTube, how many views this story, people, it doesn't have any views. Nobody's exploring it. Nobody's talking about it. And these are several different areas. I mean, it's just crazy of the things that went on that our government allowed this to happen. Okay, let me just say it. It's really sad that this was allowed to happen, because where this bomb went off at, this is the heart of Nashville. It wasn't just the musicians. I heard about artists, painters losing all of their stuff. I heard about, people with businesses. They lost their livelihoods. You talk about losing everything. I don't think people understand sometimes when you talk about you lose everything. But that was the heart of Nashville, man. That's the heart of America. And it just seems like that thing went off in our heart. And it's just like we're supposed to just accept it. Help me out. Tell me what I'm missing about this. And
yeah, no, I agree that I feel like, that is the heartbeat of the city. And I feel like we're maybe a soft target to where New York is a little harder, you know, and other places. But Nashville's such a soft target. Really, anybody could just come in there, and if he, you know, did that easily, then you know we need to have more accountability because nobody was accountable for that, and that happened. It could happen again. It could happen and be even worse, you know, because they get about 500,000 people downtown for the 4th of July. You know, it could happen anywhere. I never thought it would happen to me. I mean, I was just like, I couldn't believe I was involved in a terrorist attack. It was like, it was American, domestic American against another American.
I'm sorry,
Just
but your
unbelievable.
government said that it was not a terroristic attack.
Yeah,
you are aware that they said this was not a terroristic attack. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's funny how they change the language after a little time goes by, and they'll try and erase and say, "Oh no, we didn't do this and we didn't do that. No, we never said that." And it's they just think we're just too stupid to figure it out, I guess. So,
well, listen here, Buck. First of all, I want to thank you for joining me. You said something that, and this is what's bothering me. This is why I wanted to cover this, and I just pray that I'm wrong, but I also just pray that God's will be done here, because you said it, man. You said that this was the little one. You said this was the little one. Hey, man, this was a setup. And I pray to God that, because we're not looking at what happened, man. You know, and I just hope that, you know, I thank God that no one was killed in this, but just the fact that no one was killed in this also lets me know that how strategically it was placed. Okay, so listen, I want to thank you for joining me. Where are you at tonight, Buck? I'm sorry for going through all of that. Where are you at, man?
I'm at the 505 now. I live downtown, and you know, when I heard you were going to do a show on this episode about the bombing, I was like, man, I'm glad somebody's at least out there asking some questions, and maybe somehow we'll get some more answers, but we'll never know unless we ask. So I appreciate you doing a show on it and having me. So thanks.
By the way, man, I looked at a video of a police cam, and I noticed that you said, I have to learn to shut up and let people go. You spoke of the actions of the officers involved, and everyone knows that I've worked in law enforcement for 17 years. There was just something strange about the actions of the officers. The officer whose body cam went off, he never moved. It never shook. He was so calm about it. Some of the footage of this, and I know you've seen this footage, some of the footage, I see shots of buildings that have the windows already boarded up. And I know that sounds crazy. That's goofy. Some things just don't add up. Buck, tell me, what do you think about that? I'm sorry, man. I know I loop back on that, but am I also, there was an old guy that told the police officer that he saw the explosion from somewhere else. There were several other explosions that happened after that. Your footage shows other explosions. I saw explosions that looked like they kind of weren't right where the fire trucks were going. I'm sorry if I was almost done, but am I right about that, or what?
Well, we
what is
got
that I'm
half of a
saying
puzzle. We got half of a puzzle here. We got some of this puzzle, and then now there's all these other pieces laying around, and like we got to find out, like eventually, where those pieces go, and if it puts the pieces together and it helps us to get through to the next thing. But I got a feeling that they're not gonna open up any kind of investigation. The mayor has moved on to other things. They're way past this now. They've just decided to put this to bed, and we'll never know the true picture.
Buck, you see that flag on your head? You see that flag in your background?
Yeah,
Look,
baby.
that's what it's about. Okay. By the way, really quickly, you're going to be at John. You're going to be at John. With John Rich's Redneck Riviera. What's happening
Redneck
with that, man?
Riviera. We play on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 9 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon. So we get the day drinkers in. We do a set of music of country, blues, rock. We do all kinds of different styles. So have yourself a friend in town. Bring them on over to my place, and I'll entertain them, and we'll have a beer.
Where can they find you at
sometime down the road.
online? Where can they find you at online, Buck?
Just go to buckmccoy.com. Buck McCoy, put the .com behind it, and you can see my schedule. I play at Legends. I'm doing some other stuff around with radio, so they can check out all my stuff.
What did I say in the beginning? I told you he was a legend. He's a Nashville legend. He's a staple. In other words, Buck is out here making moves in these streets of Nashville. Buck, thank you so much, man. Keep up the work, man. God bless you. Continue putting out the good work, man. People don't understand. Artists, you feed a soul, man. Your music. Hey, man, God bless you. Keep it up. Thank you so much. And hopefully we're going to bring a little attention to this, and hopefully I piss some people off. Thank you for joining me, Buck.
Thank you, Uncle. See you again.
All right, man. We'll see you. Thanks, sir.
This area must be evacuated now. If you can hear this message, evacuate now. If you can hear this message, evacuate now.
Now, let's take a look at this, okay? Because this is what I want you to do. You just saw the video, okay? Just heard Buck. You've heard Buck McCoy tell you, and he gave you an eyewitness statement upon what happened. And he also gave you some of his personal opinions about what happened. And I really didn't know that he was going to take it there, but I was kind of glad that he did. Now, having said all of that, let me just give you a couple of Uncle Jimmy observations. Let me just tell you a couple of things that I observed of just going through this story. And let me just be honest with you, man. After going down this little rabbit hole, it's the reason why this story is as convoluted as it is. And let me just try to hurry up and sort this out for you. All right, first of all, we have an RV, recreational vehicle camper. All right, it was owned by a white male, 63 years old, named Anthony Quinn Warner. Okay. Quinn was unavailable for questioning at the time of this story due to the fact that his body parts were scattered amongst the rubble of the explosion, allegedly, meaning that he's dead. Okay. Now, most of the time, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're involved in a real explosion, okay, most of the time, those people don't really, they don't make good witnesses. Okay, so I'm just simply saying this guy, Anthony Warner, was not available to talk about. Okay, this camper, one of the things that, as you heard, this camper blew up outside the AT&T building. Okay, but it's kind of funny. AT&T doesn't want their name mentioned on this story. And I believe that if you look up that address, and if you look that address up, somehow or another, AT&T has managed to get their logo and their name taken off that building via Google Earth. Okay. Now, let's not forget this. Some people said it was due to the 5G. We got to remember how many things were going on at that time. Remember, they hit us with the 5G first, right? Remember, there was people that were burning down 5G towers because they said that the 5G was actually what was causing COVID. Remember that. So let's just keep it real. Folks can do some crazy things, man. I also heard that, and this is the one that is very, very interesting, man, because this is the significance of the AT&T building. Okay. I also heard talk that this was an attempt to block the election count. I think it's very, very interesting because at that time, you know, when this happened, hey man, America was sitting on a powder keg. This was December 25th. What was this, 11 days before January 6th? Okay. Now, here's the deal. Do y'all know what they said was in those, what they were keeping in the AT&T buildings? That those were the Dominion voting machines. You know, that was those were the things that were at the center of this whole recount thing. And for those of you that don't know, and it took me a minute to figure it out, but those Dominion voting machines were supposed to conduct an audit to see if there was really some shenanigans going on. Now, what I thought was interesting was AT&T, they denied that they had anything to do. They didn't know nothing about the machines, and they didn't know that they were part of even inspecting of the voting machines. And like I said, man, all of these things were just happening right before January 6th. See, I don't think that, I'm gonna go back to that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really know if this was really connected to the voting machines or not, considering that 16 months prior to this thing, police were notified that he was making bombs in his camper. He was notified by a unnamed source. This says Warner's girlfriend warned police that he was building bombs. Okay. All right, so just keep that in mind. That happened 16 months prior. Now, I don't really know how he could have built those 16 months ago and known that we were going to be involved in this whole voting scandal, okay? But keep on that. I'm going to digress for a minute because I want y'all to just roll with me for it. Here's another theory, okay? How about the fact that he was just a patsy? Okay, because remember, back in the day, if you'd went on his website, you would find out this guy was kind of portrayed as a crazy person, right? Because they said that he was looking for aliens in Montgomery Bell State Park. You know, and you know, whenever you start talking about aliens and you start believing in something else, that makes you a prime candidate to be crazy, and that makes you a prime candidate for something to pin something on. You listen to some of these reports, man. Some of the reports say that there was gunshots prior to the music. You heard Buck say he heard the gunshots. Hey, man, this is a Jimspiracy. Nobody said this, but just let me ask. How the hell y'all don't know that this man wasn't killed in his house before this bomb went off? How you know that this man wasn't killed and that camper was placed at the AT&T building to stop that Dominion audit that was going on? I know. Y'all gonna say that our government don't do stuff like that, but damn it, y'all do know that right before 9/11 happened, Rumsfeld had announced that so many trillions of dollars were missing from our budget and that we were about to have an audit, right? Y'all do know that, right? Look it up. Y'all do know that this explosion knocked out internet from Kentucky to Georgia. By the way, I kind of thought it was interesting. People said, well, the bomb didn't kill anyone. Okay, it's because it was a thermal-centric based bomb, meaning that the bomb is just designed to do exactly what it does. It just blows up with the combustion and the pressure. Most of the damage is done with glass, debris, and whatever else. There's no shrapnel or there's nothing added to it. There's no chemicals in it. It's just a cheap bomb, okay? It could have been a lot worse. Now, This is where this story gets a little tricky for me. I don't even want to say tricky. This is where the story gets a little confusing to anybody that followed this story. And this is where this is where the story just gets strange. Okay, now, are y'all aware that this guy, Tony Warner, gave his house to this woman? Her name was, yeah, look at this. Now listen, because I've broken this down for you. Because we're going to talk about the girlfriend. Okay, there's two Tony Warner girlfriends in this story. There's girlfriend number one, who remains unnamed, and she gave the report to authorities that said he was making a bomb in 2019. Now, one thing I think was interesting about this report was police were originally called because it said that she was suicidal. So in other words, she's like, I don't know what the hell going on with this man, but this is driving me crazy. Okay, but this is the deal. Here's the problem with this story. Girlfriend number one notified the authorities about this 16 months prior. Okay, officers responded. They saw the camper. They knew that this man had a license to work with explosives. He was granted a license in 2013. You had a report that the man was building bombs in a camper. You showed up, you see the camper, you know that he is known for working with explosives, and you did nothing. You did nothing because you didn't have a warrant. You always hear me say that I was in law enforcement, okay? One of the things that pissed me off about law enforcement is when I hear the answers that law enforcement give people. And I know good and damn well that's not how law enforcement operates. When I was thinking about this story, I remember one time we were trying to serve a warrant on an individual, and they just simply wouldn't answer the door. I was told by my superior at the time, said, go around back, because we need to make sure that, cover both exits. And as I go around to the back door was open. Door was cracked just a little bit. Just walked in. Said, get your ass on the ground. Cuffed him. Walked out. No problem. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't open that door. That's how it works. Okay. I know. So when I hear that, I don't buy that. I don't like that. And let me say this just to piss some people off. And this is why I just went through that whole long thing. Because I don't want to say this, but you know what? Damn it, if it was a no-knock warrant, you'd have went in there. Okay, so don't tell me about what you can and can't do. You do what you want to do. Okay. Okay, y'all got that? I'm not buying the no warrant thing. No knock warrant. Okay, now. That's one girlfriend. Also, there's another girlfriend. Now, this one here gets real messy. Because girlfriend number two is the mother of Michelle Swing. Okay. Now, since Michelle's mom is still married to her dad, I don't know what, we're going to guess that they dated over 30 years ago? I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what happened here. But somehow or another, this guy he gave Michelle Swing 2 houses. Dun, 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 dun. He gifted her 2 houses. Now, Warner, the first house was Warner's brother's house that he inherited. And he's like, hey, I don't need a house. Here, you can have it. And Michelle gave the house back to the mom, who actually sued about Warner giving her the house. Did y'all follow me on that? So Michelle said, I don't want the house. Here, take it. But then he turns around and gave her another house. Just days before the bomb. Are y'all following that? Okay. So in other words, there were 2 houses. You just seen it. He gave 2 houses away. Now let me just ask this real quick, because I said I'm really trying to figure this out. Could it be possible that 2 girlfriends are the same person? Could they, both of those girlfriends, be the same person? If so, I don't know, man. What's happening? I don't know. If I was Michelle's dad, somebody need to answer me some questions. Because I need to know why a complete stranger, somebody got to answer the question. Why is this man giving you houses? Okay? Something's happening. And let me just tell y'all this on a very, very, very serious note. Seriously. Because another thing that bothered me about this was, if this man was giving away houses, if this man is giving away cars, that's called giving away your prized possessions. That's called giving away your possessions. When you give away your possessions, that's a red flag that someone needs help, and that in their mind, they're saying that they don't need those items anymore. Okay. One report said that he gave her a car. Some say he gave her a house. You know, tomato. I say go ask the mother, because something ain't going on here, man. I don't know. You know, let me go back if I can, man. I want to quote the late great Reverend Ike. And for those of you that remember Reverend Ike used to say that you can't lose with the stuff I use. Now, let me tell y'all something. I don't know what the hell she using, but I can tell you that she ain't losing. Because somebody gave her 2 houses for nothing. And I think that, here, let's see what Michelle's quote is. I think this is great. See, because she said that in the state of Tennessee, you can deed properly to someone else without their consent or their will or signature or anything. That's what she told the Daily Mail. She said, I didn't even buy the house. He just deeded it over to me without my knowledge. So this is all just very weird to me. And that's all I can say. Y'all follow that? Nah, here's where it gets good. See, here you go, because you got to get down to the bottom line, America, to find out what's really going on. See, because Miss Swing declined to say that whether or not she had ever met Warner. Now, let me give you an example of this. Let me give you an example. Uncle Jimmy, have you ever met Warner? Nope. Uncle Jimmy, have you ever been 300 pounds? Nope. Okay, there it is. It's that simple. You see what she told her? She said, well, I can't say whether I've ever met him or not, or whether she had family links to him. That means family ties. And now here's the key thing for this, you all. I said all of this to you to get to this part, because this is what she said. She said, I have been told to direct everything else to the FBI. You know what that means? That means you done ran your mouth too much and the FBI done told you better shut the hell up. Okay? That's what that is. See? And let me just ask y'all this, man. Let's not. Uncle Jimmy, what are you saying? What are you saying, Uncle Jimmy? I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Because surely it's not like, surely it's not, our government wouldn't put a pretty young girl up to do something illicit against a patsy. Surely the Illuminati, it wouldn't get some little young female to get a job done. I'm just reaching for stuff, man. I don't know, man. One of the things that I want to know is, I need to know why is that you had no idea that this man was building a bomb. You had no idea that he was planning on detonating the bomb. You had no idea that they was coming to visit on January 6th. But as always, we have this thing called selective video. I just want you to show me a video of that camper when it pulled up and parked. Come on, man, you can't go buy a pack of gum without putting your phone number in. And I'm not gonna let my government keep on telling me every time something happens, oh, we didn't know. Yes, the hell you did. You know everything that we're doing. But when it comes to something that furthers your agenda, then you want to play the nut roll. Then you want to play crazy. The problem that I have with this, America, is why are you playing crazy? Why are you playing the nut roll? Why are there so many loose ends to this story? Okay, I'm not sure we solved anything here tonight, but hopefully we opened up some doors, and more importantly, we opened up some minds. And hopefully, man, somebody's gonna start, and we're gonna open up a conversation to find out just what the hell is really going on, and what are you trying to do to my America? We're gonna be back in a minute. I got a Bible story for you. All right. Thank you for tuning back. Thank you for staying with me. Got a Bible story for you. Tonight's Bible story. Tonight's story, I'm going to bring it to you from the book of Noah, okay? And if we go and study the book of Noah, we're going to realize that there's no religion that's going to argue about Noah and his story. You know, and that's not a lot of stories that transcend and cross over into all of the religions. And honestly, this story, there's not a religion around that argues. Everybody's religion, everybody's book speaks of a catastrophic event that happened on this earth. And I don't care if you're Buddhist, Jewish, Christians, Muslims, Shintos, American Indian, everybody's talking about it. Hell, even the LGBTQIA, even they agreed that something happened. And you know, they don't agree on nothing. You know, and you know, here's the facts. All of the facts are kind of the same. Okay. All of the facts say that it was a bow, a bird, and a flood. Okay. Now there are some people that want to debate on this story. It's like, how could he take the animals 2 by 2? I could answer that in 3 words. DNA. Done. Okay. Now, see, now the thing is this is why this thing kind of got important to me, because I found it very, very interesting with this story of Noah, that God told Noah to build an ark. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know the story, but the Bible said that Noah was like 600 years old. You heard? He's 600 years old. Now, look, I ain't nowhere near 600, man, but I do know what it feels like to be 60. And I'm going to tell you right now, if God told me to go build a porch, I'm going to have to ask some questions, because he know I ain't got no insurance. So we have to have some conversations. I'm going to need to know. The only certain stories in the Bible. But my question is, and I just want to know, why is this story in everybody's Bible? You know why? Because this is the story of obedience. This is the story of a man following God's orders. Huh? Now, here's what I think is very interesting about this story and the way everybody can twist it up however they want to. But let me just be honest with you, man. What I love about this story is, see, we think that when God came to talk to Noah and tell him about this ark, we think that God came out talking loud. Hear what I'm saying? You think that God came out and made a big grand announcement. Noah, I want thou to go out in thou front yard and buildeth me an ark. Hey man, let me tell you something, man. God don't work like that all the time. He can. He's capable of it. But God don't usually, he don't talk to me like that. You know, and I think that that's what's very important about this story of Noah, because I think that's what we're waiting on. I think a lot of us are waiting on a flaming bush. A lot of us is just waiting on God to make a tree fall down in front of us. We want God to blow trumpets and saxophones. You don't understand, man. When God speaks, he normally likes to use his indoor voice. Okay? And see, what I like about Noah is when God came to Noah, Noah obeyed. Noah did what God told him to do because it was something that God was saying, and it was something that Noah knew it was real. And he acted. You know, one of the things that in life that, you know, God will tell you to do something. And sometimes we say, huh? Too late. You need to listen to God when God tells you to do something. You think it was easy for Noah? You think it was easy for Noah to be out here building this great big boat in the middle of the desert? You think his friends, his crew wasn't giving him flack? What the hell you call that thing there? It's called an ark. What's it for? It's for a flood. What's a flood? I said, well, it's when it rains. What's rain? You see what I'm saying? Because they hadn't had rain. Y'all don't realize that, man. God is telling Noah to do something that it don't matter whether he understands. You got to do it because I told you to do it. Okay? I'm telling you, the earth was different back then. They hadn't had rain. They didn't know what rain was. Okay, one little overlooked item in this story. Because something happened. He's like, well, what was rain? What happened? Well, the Bible tells us, and this is really interesting. The Bible tells us that the heavens opened up the firmament. Okay, what's the firmament? The translation is that it's a vault. It says that it can open. Sounds like one of them retractable roofs that they have on these stadiums. Now, let me just ask y'all something really quick, okay? How do you flood a ball? If this is a ball and water comes down on it, how you flood it? Now, according to the Bible, it told me how it was done. See, it said that the heavens opened up. And it also talks about the 4 pillars. But you know what? We're going to set that aside. We're going to talk about that later. Okay? Listen, here's where I'm at. And here's what I'm telling you about this story. What this story and what the story of Noah and my understanding of life and my understanding of where I'm at right now is that we're living in some similar times of Noah. Like I said, we assume God yelled at Noah. God didn't yell at Noah. God talked to Noah just as calm as, we don't like nobody hollering at us. And so God ain't gonna holler. God just gonna tell you what you need to do. God's doing that to a lot of us right now. It's a whole bunch of us out there right now, man. We know something's coming. Those of us that are God's children, there are some of us on this earth that are born with the Bible. Bible says that we're born with the power of discernment. We know something is coming. We're going to have to start building some arks. We have to start building some arks for our own families. See, because I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm going to be honest with you. The world done pissed God off. They pissed him off then, and he's pissed off now. Remember back then, you had angels mating with humans, demons mating with humans, producing evil offspring. It's a whole bunch of evil offspring running around here right now. You got kids right now. Kids right now can ask Siri anything other than how to go to the pot. Hey man, we claim to have all of this knowledge. We claim to be so smart and all of this thing and all of this is starting to piss God off, just like in the time of Noah. God has given this world, God has given us as man, God has given us as a country many, more than enough choices, more than enough chances. We done let God down, man. And you know what? Hey, man, don't play with God, man. Say, my God is a vengeful God. And he ain't beyond tearing this thing up. I know this, he's merciful. He's also vengeful. But I'm going to tell you right now, man, God is getting ready to tear this thing up again. Remember, after the flood, it said that the rainbow came out. And there was the rainbow and there was the dove. And God said that he will never, ever again destroy the earth by water. Well, one of my favorite groups in the 80s was Earth, Wind. And this next time, it's going to be fire. See, let me tell y'all something, man. Here's the problem. Let me just get this out, the why I wanted to say this, because here's the deal. This thing done gone too far, man. It's gone too far. It's going to happen. And I don't really know I don't know if there's anything we can do to stop this. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what you can do. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I'm telling other people to do. I'm getting my life right. I'm getting my soul right. Because I know that at some point or another, I'm going to have to meet my creator. Okay? And that's what I need to tell all of y'all, man. We need to get ready to make things right with God. We need to get ready to meet our maker. Because the time's coming. And on our way to meet our maker, you probably want to pick up some canned goods, some water, a couple of rifles and ammo. It's hard times is coming, y'all. See you next week on Jim's Fizz.
What they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for.
Yeah, are you not entertained? Ain't this what they tell you hustle for? I'm on my gladiator monologues, Russell Crowe. And honestly, I don't see what the fuss is for. You let your money blow and all we tryna do is sow it. Just so you know, this is Kingdom Biz. No Brooklyn Nets, I think we know who team this is. Come on, come all, and don't forget to bring the kids. And y'all gon' need a different planet just to dream this big. So bring your stacks to the table, and I'ma bring my faith. And at the end of the day, we gon' see who win in this race. And since God is the judge, he'll probably throw out my case. So do us a favor, get that look off your face. They be like, you spit that fire, got them industry raps. Why you doing that Christian rap? into that. Then I reply with a sigh like I'm missing the fact. I'm trying to spread this holy gospel till my Savior get back.
I'm going in one time, these record labels all in my face, trying to forfeit my race. But still I'm going in one time, no matter the opposition I face, staying true to my faith. I'm about to give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Well, everything they offer, yeah, I'ma give it back. You can have it, crossing the world on my back, Mr. Atlas. I'm trying to get the people what they lacking. That's why I act a donkey on the track. Hit a passion, got something to say. You wanted to play, then come running my way and ruin G status is dead. No, ready to go, about to go in, you already know. Got my instructions, now give me your audience, hand me your mic and I'm ready to blow. One for the money, two for the show, three for everybody who encouraged me to go, get it. We finally did it, I ain't never turning back, shawty. I'm fully committed to my beliefs. I'm committed to the city, committed to the streets. I'm committed till they get it. Now people calling my phone check, telling me to not hold back. Bring back that old set. Bet it up, I'm on that. I'm going in one time, these record labels all in my face, trying to forfeit my race. But still I'm going in one time, no matter the opposition I face, staying true to my faith. I'm about to give them.
I asked a couple of law enforcement officers about what happened, and I think it was pretty interesting that the one thing that they all said was, he was a conspiracy theorist, went crazy and loaded up some bombs in his camper and set them off. You know how them people do. Come on. Do you know anything about this thing that happened in Nashville? Okay, you ain't got nothing to say to me, right? You ain't got nothing to say to me. This is the #1 thing to kill America. Crack.